Well, I want to show you something that kind of stood out to me with this article. Now, this is an article I posted on my WordPress page on June the 29th. I didn't really have a chance to make a video on this. I'm not going to deal with the whole article because it's quite lengthy. So I'm going to put it on the bottom and you guys can check it out for yourself. But you see the title. New report. 23% of young black women now identify as bisexual. I'm going to read that again. 23% of young black women now identify as bisexual. Why is this important? To the point where an article had to be made regarding this. Why are they highlighting black women, putting black women on the forefront regarding bisexuality? Now, there's 2 points that I'm going to point out, and then I'm going to put the article on the bottom and you guys can check it out for yourself. It says, since 1972, social scientists have studied the General Social Survey to chart the complexities of social change in the United States. The survey, which conducted every couple years, asked respondents their attitudes on topics ranging from race relation to drug use. In 2008, the survey started including a question on sexual identity. As socialists who study sexuality, we've noticed how more and more women, keep in mind, they're not pinpointing one particular woman or type of woman, but it says we've noticed that more and more women are reporting that they're bisexual. But in the most recent survey, one subset stood out. 23% of black women in the 18 to 34 age group identified as bisexual. That's the millennial group. One subset stood out. 23% of black women in the 18 to 34 age group identified as bisexual. A proportion that's nearly 3 times higher than it was a decade ago. In other words, black women and black men were together. More black men and black women were together. More black men and women got married. More black men and black women were in relationships. The hatred and the division among the black man and the black woman wasn't that deep at that time. It says, what forces might be fueling this shift, and what can learn from it? And I'm sure they meant, what can we learn from it? Now, I've always said that black people have always been the face of the gay and lesbian community. Although there's a high number of Europeans and other races that's gay, lesbian, and transgender, black people have always been the guinea pig. We've always been the test rats. We've always been on the forefront so that society does not see the gay, lesbian, and transgender community as a whole. But when you think of gay, lesbian, and transgender, you think of black people because that's the face. That's always in the forefront. The face of black men and the face of black women. Now, I'm going to scroll down. And as you see, they have charts here. But I'm going to scroll down, and this is what I find quite interesting. A shortage of men? Why is it that when black females become bisexual or lesbian or gay, whatever you choose to call yourself, why is it that they always have to justify and find reasons outside of their own choice and decision? It's almost like they always have to blame something or someone. It seems that they're always blaming the black man. Now, this paragraph says, cultural forces might also play a role. Socialists Emma Michelle, Paula England, Jesse Ford, and Monica L. Padillo. Now, keep in mind, these are Europeans. Might be of different ethnicities, but they're Europeans. They're not black. And you can tell by their name. Also analyze the General Social Survey. Rather than study sexual identities, they study sexual behavior. Yet they discovered a similar pattern. Young black women were more likely to engage in same-sex sexual behavior than women and men in other racial and age groups. I'm going to repeat that again. Yet they discovered a similar pattern. Young black women were more likely to engage in same-sex sexual behavior than women and men of other racial and age groups. They argue that these shifts speak to a larger truth about American culture. It's more acceptable now. Look at how they keep changing the language. This article is supposed to be about black women, but they keep referring to women, and then they'll say women and men in the black community when they want to make a certain point or put a certain image inside your mind, and then they go back to American culture. It's more acceptable for women to spurn gender norms because femininity isn't valued as highly as masculinity. Since masculinity and heterosexuality are closely intertwined, men might believe they'll suffer a higher social cost for identifying as bisexual. Others have pointed to the shortage of men hypothesis to explore young black women's decision about relationships and marriages. This too might explain why young black women in particular seem more willing to explore bisexuality. According to this argument, fewer marriageable men, talking about black men, create a need for women to consider options beyond heterosexual relationships or marriage. A traditional marriage isn't as necessary as it once was, since women have more educational and economic opportunities. They can afford to be pickier or possibly to explore same-sex relationships. Now, because of educational, more economic opportunities, they can afford to be pickier or possibly to explore same-sex relationships, well, maybe because of the fact that it's not about the shortage of men. If I felt that there was a shortage of good black women, there's other options that I have. in other cultures, other races. If I don't make it, if I choose not for whatever reason to date a black woman, I can date an Asian woman. I can date an Indian woman, Native American. I can date an Israeli woman, a Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Russian, right? So I have an option. A shortage of black women is not going to make me become bisexual. So it's almost like this article subconsciously is trying to put black women in a box, saying that if you can't find men in your own race, leave our men alone. Maybe you shouldn't explore outside of your race. Maybe you should just look at another woman. It's okay if you become bisexual, because we're putting you in a box where if there's no available men in among your own people, then your only option, the only option you have is to become bisexual, because there is a shortage of men for you. Forget about other races or nationalities, although America is a melting pot. You have all of these immigrants now coming to this country. But yet, because of the fact that you feel that there's a shortage of marriageable black men, your only option now is to turn to another woman and become bisexual. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you? A traditional marriage isn't as necessary as it once was, since women have more educational and economic opportunities. They can afford to be pickier. Now, black females, you hear so many black men talk about how black women don't want a good black man. They want a thug. They want someone that they can control the relationship. It makes them feel empowered to control you. It gives them a break. When their man goes to jail, it gives them a break to do what they want to do. They just send them some care packages, cigarettes, socks, what have you, music. And then when he comes home, now you're the one that's controlling the house. You're in control. You have the power to kick him out if he doesn't do what you want him to do. But when it comes to that so-called good black man, the one that's educated, to have more options or economic opportunities, like they mentioned about women, now he's a threat to her. She wants to know now, why are you interested in me? You must be up to something. I don't trust you. So she settles for less. She settles for those men that's locked up behind bars. And do they ever get married? In most cases, no. Every now and then a marriage may come from that, but it don't work. It just don't work. And then the guy that is available, that is doing well for himself financially and economically and educationally, now he's moved on. And in many cases, he's taking advantage of those other options of women that's out there. He's just not staying within the black community. Because in his mind, there's a shortage of good black women. There's a lot of women out there, a lot of black women out there, but their mindset, especially the millennials, their mind is not right. Their energy is not right. So they choose to move on to other races. And in many cases, they appear to be doing well for themselves. Now, when it comes to relationship between man and woman, regardless of what race you are, you're going to have good relationships. You're going to have bad relationships. You're going to have deadbeat women. You're going to have deadbeat men. And that's not a black issue. That's a human issue. But black people are always on the front. They're always on the forefront. They're the test rats. It says, Another aspect of the hypothesis involved the disproportionately high rate of incarceration of black men in the United States. It's possible that because black women are, as a group, more likely to live in areas with smaller pools of marriageable men. And keep in mind, you got that underlined. They are more open to bisexuality. Now, they're saying that you're restricted only to your own neighborhood. You're not in the workforce. Now, they claim that women are have more educational, economic opportunities, but yet they put you in a box. I'm gonna read that again. It's possible that because black women are, as a group, so it's putting you in a box, more likely to live in areas with smaller pools of marriageable men. It says men, but they're talking about black men. They're more open to bisexuality. Again, if I felt that there was a shortage of good black women, there's no way that I'm gonna start looking at another dude. I'm not gonna look at Tyrone because I am who I am. I'm a heterosexual man. I'm a straight man. I am what God created me to be. So because of the lack of good black women is not gonna make me turn to another man. It may make me look outside of my own race, which according to this article is keeping black people in a box, primarily black women. It's sending a message to black women saying that, listen, if you can't find a good man among your own people, your only option, like I mentioned earlier, is to date another woman. Because other men of other cultures don't want you, or we don't want you coming after our man. So we telling you that your only option now is another woman. So you guys tell me if I'm reading too much into this, but it says they're more open to bisexuality. The last paragraph says, we're less convinced by the shortage of men argument because it ignores the fact that incarceration rates of black men haven't increased over the past decade. Yet over this period of time, the percentage of young black women identifying as bisexual have grown substantially. So why are black women looking to each other for sexual pleasures and satisfaction? Why is it that they always have to blame the shortage of good black men to justify their actions, their choices of lusting after another woman? And like I said, this is a lengthy article. I'm not going to read it all, but I'm going to put the link on the bottom and you guys can read this for yourself and you tell me what you think. Feedback, tell me what you think, subscribe, share this article, share this video, click on the PayPal link or the donate button and support the channel. Until next time, I'm fearless.